Would you ever eat government vaccines? Feed your family hormones or antibiotics? Never ever do that to your family. So, why buy beef the same way you've always bought beef? You're buying meat glue bonded, hormone filled, antibiotic riddled grocery store meat. Say no to supermarket medicated Franken meats and say hello to NeverEverBeef.club. Always 100% USDA prime or high choice. That's restaurant grade. Never Ever is not ever just select beef or even standard or ungraded store branded meat. It's simply the very best cut and tasting steak you have ever had. We have never ever given our herd hormones, antibiotics, or even mRNA vaccines. Never ever. Pure blood genetics. We've raised our herds this way for over 30 generations. They simply have never, ever had antibiotics, hormones, or killer vaccines. Grass-fed the way nature intended, in almost 500,000 acres of high pasture environments. Finished off with non-modified feed crops we grow ourselves. We even own our own 210,000 square foot processing plant. And as an added bonus for our NeverEverBeef.club members, we age our steaks in our state-of-the-art 780,000 cubic foot aging facility. Only top restaurants do that, so they can charge you $100 or more for a little bitty steak. We age our meat because we want you to have the very best restaurant quality USDA prime or high choice, pure blood, purebred beef at a price your family can afford in these financially challenging times. Sure, you can keep paying the price for supermarket cheap, standard, and ungraded store meat brands if you love feeding your family Franken meat. So never ever settle for less. Join our NeverEverBeef.club. Take control of your health and your family food supply right now. Join NeverEverBeef.club. We are real people with real families just like you. So we personally customize your order right over the phone. Now that's customer service. And there is absolutely no obligation when we call. You decide what bundle is best for your needs. No hormones, antibiotics, or even mRNA vaccines. Never had them and never ever will. Never ever cut corners on your food supply or family's health. Join NeverEverBeef.club now.
Hey, folks, how's it going? Welcome to the program. Ironic that we should be leading in with pure grass-fed, incredible beef when I'm about to feed you a serving of big bologna. Remember that? My bologna has a first name is James. My bologna has a second name is Comey. You remember that little jingle? Well, we're going to try to separate the baby from the bathwater and the BS from the bologna, because this is going to be a big one. Okay, folks, today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. Here's all I'm asking you to do. It's so simple. I often wonder why people won't do what's best for themselves. I'm telling you, now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. You need to request your free gold and silver kit, folks, from my fine partners at Goldco. There's some very interesting minimums to help you out, to help you get started, to help you understand how to protect, well, your assets. Silver is going through the roof. Gold's gone through the roof. It's very simple. If you have a retirement account, 401k, IRA, and if you wanted to go in it, say you gotta replace your HVAC, your heating, as you're headed into winter, and you wanted to take money out, The system's going to tell you, well, you can't really do that or shouldn't do it. And they're going to want to ding you maybe as high as 50%. You can avoid that, right? You can avoid that if you understand the rules. That's why I'm asking you to go to JovanLovesGold.com, JovanLovesGold.com. Do it, folks. Pay attention. And you might even get up to $10,000 in extra silver if your account qualifies. Okay, a few things. One, I want to say thank you to all the people supporting what we're doing for the full forensic audit. I'm giving you a Q code up on top of the screen. You can zap with your phone. Today, we're going to talk about indicting someone, and it's coming down to provable documents to get the indictment. That's everything about the full forensic audit in Arizona. Provable hardcore indictments. I keep on hearing about the votes went to Serbia and they caught them being switched on the server. Show me the data. Because if you caught them being switched on a server, you have a trail that can be tracked all the way through to who, what, when, where, and how. This is the who, what, when, where, and how. We need your support keeping the full forensic archives sacred because it's going to be so critical coming forward. I know justice is slow, but it's so critical. But that's why they hire bot farms, to keep you away from it. Use your brain, folks. So I want to say thank you for everybody helping that out. That's up there in the corner so you can do it. Okay, we're going to balloon it. Mr. Baloney Comey himself has been indicted. I'm going to take you through the details. You got about 2 minutes to share this, and we're going to get started.
Warning. The following program has been rated Dilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, he's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, you probably heard the news that James Comey has been indicted. Yep. Now, you're probably asking yourself, is this going to get anywhere? Did Pam Bondi do this? What's up? I'm going to give you all the varying details on it. Some of you may believe it's typical political BS or baloney. Who knows? But we're going to attempt to figure it out. By the way, President Trump, over on Truth, put this out. Justice in America, one of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to is James Baloney Comey. Yeah, James Baloney Comey, the former corrupt head of the FBI. Today, he was indicted by a grand jury on 2 felony counts for various illegal and unlawful acts. He has been so bad for our country for so long and is now at the beginning of being held accountable for his crimes against our nation. Make America great again. Amen. Amen. There's going to be a lot of look over here, look over there, look over here, look over there. One of the distractions you're going to see in this is this super smart hottie. It's going to be a trial that you might watch to see Comey go down or might watch to see this hottie. Who is this hottie? Well, this is what the left is going to attack. This is Lindsay Halligan. As if it matters, she's a 36-year-old former Miss Colorado. Right? They're saying, oh, she only worked 3 federal cases before Trump promoted her to U.S. attorney. Okay. But will you watch? Is this going to be a bunch of baloney? Is it going to be spicy? Who knows? But now indictments have come down. Signed, sealed, and delivered. We're going to go over them in a moment. But sides are coming out fighting. Complaining. This is unfair. This is a dictator, fascist.
Is you guys are setting up a very dangerous precedent. And
Yes, conservatives, Donald J. Trump, I want to let you know, are setting up a very dangerous precedent for conservatives. Yes, doing something about it, having a backbone, and refusing to send a strongly worded letter.
Is you guys are setting up a very dangerous precedent. And I'm sorry. You think that we did all of the precedent setting. You think that
you guys went pro in it. And political persecution.
I worked with President Obama. Yeah? You think President Obama set up...
Were they not spying on Donald Trump's campaign?
Oh, my God.
Yes or no? It is a fact that... Did they get FISA warrants? Yes or no? Oh, so then therefore it must be real, even though it wasn't.
What Russia is doing? Yes, 100%.
You accused Donald Trump of working with the Russians.
Hold on a second.
It was a lie.
All right, then you lost your chance.
Think about that, folks. We're years and years and years past that crap. The system's having to face the writing on the wall that the Russia collusion was bull. And here is somebody that worked for Obama, question whoever, but the other host. Are we not supposed to know what Russia was doing? That's how this works. The media sells you, right? Stuff. And unfortunately, people just buy it instead of doing whatever. I do have a video by Comey. Comey spoke for himself, right? You're going to see a lot of him.
If you go to prison, pick up a tube of my James Comey KY Jelly Prison Gel. You will not be sorry. I am prisoner number 8675309.
Hey! Jimmy, who will you turn to? Well, he will turn around face down.
If you go to prison, pick up a tube of my James Comey KY Jelly Prison Gel. You will not be sorry. I am prisoner number 8675309.
Oh. It is. It's right. You're right. It's a sticky situation. It's going to be hard. Yeah. I wouldn't wish prison on anyone. It's going to be very interesting whether he will be held hero or just the newest baloney pony. I have no idea. Nobody has any idea. But it's going to be interesting, to say the least. It's going to be interesting, right? By the way, I just want to say Mando, thank you so very much. So very much for supporting our work. Thank all of you guys. It all goes to keeping the full forensic audit of Arizona evidence secure. You're seeing how long this takes. It takes a long time, and that's what the system wants to do. Right? System wants to do is push it past statute of limitations and all kinds of stuff. So I appreciate you back. Thank you so very much. Let's look at some of the haggling going on.
Former FBI Director James Comey. This is in Virginia by a grand jury tonight. He is charged with 2 criminal counts. MSNBC reporting those charges. ABC News reporting the 2 counts are false statements and obstruction of justice. We do not have the actual indictment paper yet, and this is a developing breaking story. It also comes after reports of unusual and extreme pressure from the president on that department's office, basically after the acting U.S. attorney for that same district departed, and allegedly there is internal memoranda that doubted whether this new indictment of James Comey should even go forward. Prosecutors reportedly finding there was insufficient evidence. But now, former FBI Director Comey indicted tonight, capping a many-year saga of his criticism and clashes with President Trump and questions hanging over the validity of this kind of case. I'm joined by MSNBC Justice correspondent Ken Delanian. Ken?
Ari, good to be with you. So the indictment, we just got word that it happened. It was handed down by this grand jury in the Eastern District of Virginia after the case was presented to the grand jury for several hours this afternoon, we are told. And the 2 counts, as you mentioned, making false statements and obstruction of justice. We don't have the details, so we don't know if it's, as we have assumed, that it would be connected to the statement that James Comey made to the Senate 5 years ago that was closing in on the statute of limitations lapsing on Tuesday. That was a statement where he was asked whether he had authorized leaks to the media, and he said he did not. And there was an account given by his deputy, Andrew McCabe, that differed from that. This has been known for years, by the way, and explored in an Inspector General report, among other things. We are reporting that career prosecutors in that office did not believe there was enough evidence to proceed with this case. And they even wrote a memo to the acting U.S. Attorney, Lindsay Halligan, saying as much and saying that not only do they not think they could get a conviction beyond reasonable doubt from a jury, but they said that there wasn't probable cause to move forward with the case, which is the standard for a grand jury indictment. But obviously this grand jury found otherwise. Of course, as our viewers probably know, the grand jury process is essentially a tool of prosecutors. Right. Grand jurors do not hear from the defense. They don't hear from the defendant. They hear only what the prosecutors want them to hear. And so, you know, there's an old saying that a grand jury would indict a ham sandwich. And in this case, they've indicted the former FBI director on false statement charges Ken, that a lot of people think are specious.
This is an extraordinarily unusual process that led up to this. The President of the United States publicly calling for...
Okay. Did you notice the bologna sausage, the bologna wording to go down and all that? Okay. Let me pick a little bit of olives out of your olive bologna loaf. They said this was going nowhere. There's a nothing burger. It's crap. It's whatever. And it was never going to happen. Which is kind of true. Until the Trump administration, looking deeper into what could and should be charged, found out the very person charged, you know, that should have been in charge of it was ignoring it. And so they went, boom, and got rid of that person and put a person in that wasn't protecting the system. And here we go. Now I know they're going to play this off. They didn't die to ham sandwich. An indictment doesn't mean anything. Remember how they played that against Trump. But we're talking about a bologna sandwich. But it's up to us to decide where the baloney is and what's going to be going in this, because some really great legal experts and reviews on this have said this is a solid case. I actually believe that. Now, there was a part of me, I'm going to talk about in a moment, that thought this was baloney. Now, why would I think it was baloney? I thought it was another tactic. Let me tell you why it was another tactic. This indictment, and you decide how you want to deal with this. But this indictment came down and was perfected. By the way, Comey's supposed to surrender himself today. Will the media be showing his mugshot? Anyway, one of the things that concern me that maybe we're being fed a bologna sandwich, okay? And somebody's asking, a Jewish girl's asking, is bologna made with pork? Nope, I have it on great authority. It's just like hot dogs. It's totally all 100% lips and assholes. So you might be okay. But anyway, I digress. Let me go on. What you need to know is many legal scholars think this is 100% legit. The thing that concerned me right away was what you're not seeing under the hood is this was filed literally just before the statute of limitations expired. Now, remember, we've kind of been through this before. We went through it with the GOP, with all the stuff, trying to get the ballots, trying to get the everything information. We're going to fight for election integrity, and we're going to get the ballots. Well, they filed that literally 12 hours before every state had the right to destroy the ballots. And so they filed it, but remember, they have to be served. It's got to have a preliminary hearing. Then the court has to tell the states, preserve the ballots. It was conveniently, oh, well, we already destroyed them. So you know how the swamp works. So that's why I'm wondering how much baloney is here. And we kind of have to decipher through it, right? Now, Mr. Baloney himself did release true statement, not the one from prison. He was all kind of slicked up for that. This one.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either.
Is he telling the truth? Do you think he's telling the truth? When you look at him, do you think he's telling the truth? Or is it another little technicality? Or is it a mishmash of words? We won't live on our knees. It's only a technicality. I predict, but you will get on all fours.
If you go to prison, pick up a tube of my James Comey KY Jelly Prison Gel. You will not be sorry. I am prisoner number 8675309.
Big difference between on your knees and on all fours. Can we agree? Oh, by the way, he's going to mention somebody gave him incredible advice. Listen to what he says. The person who gave them this advice, as I understand, was Hillary Clinton. Pay attention.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
Snap poll. Snap poll. Just answer it in chat. Going through with this, do you think the psychological effect of indicting Comey, we probably won't get a perp walk like the Democrats did for theatrical show, will it help other people finally tell the truth about what happened? Remember, there's a few things at play. In politics, everything is psychological warfare. Everything is psychological warfare. Okay? It's just like when they charge a Muslim terrorist, they make sure they have a female prosecutor. It's the ultimate insult. And so I'm wondering here, one, do you think we'll get anything out of Comey? Will the indictment stick? Or do you think it's enough of a shock to the system that lessers under Comey might turn evidence? Put it in chat. What do you really think? Some of you think they'll just continue protecting each other. What do you think? Do you think they'll turn on each other? Henry says it smells funny. That's why you wash afterwards, but that's just simple advice. What do you think? Some are saying in chat, I watched the chat, you're part of the program. It's not just me. You're part of the program. Some say people will turn. Some say no. Some say the lesser will speak. Some say it's more kabuki. No jail theater, right? Rats will flee the ship. There's a lot at stake here. There's a lot at stake here. Some says he'll chirp like a canary. Yes, he could squeal like a bitch too, I bet. But maybe, who knows? We don't know. But here's the opposite side of it you need to think about. Once, and this is the game being played. This is where Republicans screwed us. Now, here's what I mean. Republicans have always operated as, I wouldn't want that done to me. And so they've been neutered wimps. And the most you get out of them is a strongly worded letter. That used to be status quo. I wouldn't want it done to me. Well, then, because the system tried to take over the United States of America, deep state liberals and stuff took off their gloves and said, screw this. We control everything. You're not going to do anything to us, right? And while liberals were destroying America, destroying everything, putting their people in, Republicans continue to play nice because it was the Christian thing to do. And so with Republicans playing nice and being willing to send strongly worded letters and doing nothing, here we are. Which means they're going to kind of have to come to Jesus, literally, and decide, are we going to play to win? Are we going to be afraid they turn the tables and do it on us? Now, I'll tell you why they're afraid. Because the whole freaking system engages in this bullshit. That's why they always have the weapon of turning the tables. You did it too. You do it to us, we're going to nail your ass. It's going to be interesting. you're going to need so much discernment in this one, because it is literally going to come down to words. Call me one more time with this advice from Hillary.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
I'm going to let you decide if he's innocent, but here's an interesting thing. I just want to ask you a question. I want you to answer honestly, okay? A few questions, because it relates to why the Republican Party always sends strongly worded letters and does nothing. But I just want to ask you real, clear questions. Number one, was Jesus a warrior or a pacifist? Put it in chat. Was Jesus a warrior or a pacifist? You're damn right he was a warrior. Absolutely. But what have you been told over time? Turn the other cheek. It's taken out of context. And because that has been taken out of context, we end up spreading our cheeks because we turn the other cheek. But Jesus was a warrior. Did Jesus go passively and say, that's not very nice? Well, that's not very Christian of you. I'll pray for you. Or did he get up and turn the shit over the money changers' tables, ran their asses out, beating them, and say, get this corrupt shit out of here? What did he do? Just a question. What did he do? How did he lead by example? What did he do? So I got a question for you. Where is this stuff that if you are passive, gentle, oh, I'll pray for you. It just breaks my heart to see you be that way. I bet you that even Jesus, turning over the tables, actually kind of uttered the equivalent of get your shit out of here during the day. Don't you think? I don't think he turned the table and says, now you guys go along. You play nice. I don't think he did. I don't. Now, the reason I bring this up, is because there's a big con in truth where the church is not faith, church is not Jesus, church is church, religion. Religion used doctrine to create pacification. Now, why would the church do that? Because at the time, church was the government, was the online community, was the market, was the trading center, was the social network. And they needed you to blindly follow. I've often thought about this. And I've often thought about how many times Christians do not think of that. I mean, it's right there in front of your face. If you were to look at ancient maps, especially during the Inquisition, etc., the reason we have sea monsters and demons outside the Straits of Gibraltar, otherwise known as the Pillars of Hercules, is because the church didn't want you sailing past their little Mediterranean bathtub where they controlled everything, because if you went into the big old world, you might find your fortune and become rich and realize it was all gone. So what they do, they put demons, monsters on the maps, while at the same time brought in the Dark Ages, which wasn't the sun being blotted out, folks. It was all learning being blotted out, and making sure everything was in Latin Vulgate, which nobody could read but the church. Many times I look at these things, trust and obey, trust and obey. How's the song go? Trust and obey. How rowdy Piper is that? Trust and obey. What's the? I knew it the other day, right? Jesus' teaching was face, corner, correct the lies. But that's not what you're taught from a church standpoint. And thousands of years, look where we are. I have to ask this, right? I just have to ask this. And I think of it many times and trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. Thank you very much. I was trying to remember the little ditty from my childhood. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. And this is the crossroads we're at, because to be strong in faith, to be a warrior for what's right and righteous and stare it down, has been shamed and beaten from us, that we're supposed to be meek and mild, which is exactly the opposite of Jesus, who was not meek and mild. And by the way, he got executed for what? Telling the truth. This is one of the conundrums I have as a conservative, but I got to tell you, it's why I don't call myself a Republican, even though I was and have been forever. I find it a distasteful word. I do. I find it a very distasteful word. Let me tell you how bad I find the term Republican. It's in the category with pedophile for me, which in the category with Democrat or Antifa or BLM for me. And so when I look at this political stuff that's about to play out, that's why I have to ask, how much baloney are we going to get in this? Now, I trust President Trump, right? To make the right decision. I trust it. But man, I do not trust the system. And you know what? I know what Democrats are. But I constantly get surprised by the freaking Republicans. And this is going to come down to backbone, don't you think? Don't you think this is going to come back down to backbone? And you're right, the system's still there. I agree with Tracy. There are no Republicans anymore. Republicans and Democrat, I think, is BS. You either are for the freedoms, liberty, and forever lasting nature of the United States of America, or you're not. That's all that's left. Because all the lines have been blurred. It's not about parties. It's about survival. There is no defining it, because everything you look at, it either comes down, you're for the liberties and freedoms that were created with the United States of America, and for that standing on its own, right? And or you're not. Now, it's interesting. Somebody brought up, well, remember, Jesus was a Jew and it was a Hebrew, and he was practicing the Hebrew Bible at the time. And there was no New Testament. You're right. When did you get your final New Testament? When did you get your codification? Oh, that's right, 435 years later. But that's a different topic. Everybody thinks it was during the time of the man. It was not. And so as I look through this, I just try to understand, what do you think we're going to get? And I got to tell you, honestly, I don't know. But in President Trump and some of the choices, and very few of those choices, I see righteous warriors. Right? Righteous warriors. And that's honestly what we need.
Let's get right to CNN's Caitlin Polans. Caitlin, what are you learning?
The former FBI director, James Comey, indicted by a grand jury today, a federal grand jury. We already have a statement to Jake from the Attorney General, Pamela Bondi, saying no one is above the law. Today's indictment reflects this Justice Department's commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American people. We will follow the facts in this case. Notably, she is not saying in that social media post just now that she is talking about James Comey, but this is what has been expected all day, something that we were expecting prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia to take to a grand jury, and they apparently have. Our producer, Hannah Rabinowitz at the Justice Department, she was able to confirm that not just has Comey been indicted, but there are 2 charges that he is going to be facing in federal court now, giving false statements and obstruction. We will have to see exactly what the details of that case are whenever there will be court documents available. We do not have those publicly available yet, but this is a monumental moment in the second presidency of Donald Trump. After the first presidency was clouded by much of Donald Trump's ire towards James Comey, the former FBI director, for his role in the FBI investigation and the Justice Department investigation of the Trump campaign, the 2016 Russia investigation. So this is now going to set off a whole new set of procedures, Jake. There's going to be not just a grand jury that is handing up this indictment and court documents that will show what the charges are. We are very likely going to be getting responses from Comey, if not today, in court very soon. There will be challenges made to this indictment, challenges that a judge will have to review, and potentially at the end of the day, a jury would have to take a look to decide whether the former FBI director is guilty or not guilty. But this is quite a moment to be standing here and seeing that James Comey, after all of these years being the public spotlight for the 2016 Russia investigation, has been indicted by a federal grand jury after being asked by prosecutors in the Trump administration to bring this case.
And just to be clear, the 2 charges, as you said, as we understand it from our producer at the Justice Department.
Okay, let me do a little deciphering. You see, they do the spin here. That's number one. You're never going to get anything out of mainstream media. And a lot of times you're not getting anything out of conservative media because it's so damn biased and it just won't look at the facts. So the question here is, and when I say baloney, I'm not calling baloney on President Trump. But I also want to point something out. Yes, President Trump tweeted, it's about damn time. But I want you to understand, President Trump does not decide this. President Trump doesn't point to a person and say, create a fake case. The left does that. But President Trump, no, I don't believe that. It's got to have basis. See, President Trump has to walk a very different fine line that it must be based on fact or they're going to crucify him. He's amongst enemies. He's not amongst friends. And so, no, I'm not saying President Trump is pushing baloney here. I'm saying exactly the opposite. When I look at where this prosecutor who's going to handle it comes from, realizing she comes from the same alma mater as Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, I see somebody who was not groomed by the nefarious system. That gives me hope. Okay? When I say baloney, you got to understand is President Trump is not the final say. President Trump is not the judge and jury. It's got to come down to facts. You also have to understand President Trump can't do what Obama administration did. Obama administration placed all their people in everywhere over 8 years to get their people in, intentionally trying to destroy America so they could fabricate evidence. And that's what all these people, even when we know that Russia collusion shit is BS, we now know it. That's all they have to lock on. President Trump doesn't have the ability to do that. He doesn't have that many people in there. So one thing you have to understand about a process like this is they've got to be right, take the absolute highest road, or they're going to get nailed. Right? He's surrounded by enemies. President Trump is. So this has to be squeaky, squeaky, squeaky clean. From everything I've read, it was the predecessor who was just refusing to go up against the system, saying there's not really anything there. Okay? And got fed up of that and realized they had to clean house and get somebody in that had righteous standing in law that would undertake this. That is why the indictments were done. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Comey was indicted in the Eastern District of Virginia. This was a federal grand jury. The whole basis of this, which you can go back and watch on your own, it is totally the opposite of it's Russia, 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 Russia. You can't go back to anything. Well, this you can go back in any archives to September 30th, 2020, when Comey, under oath, gave his oral testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee. If you want it, write it down. Case number 1:25-CR-272. It's a relatively short indictment, which is great. I like that it's a short indictment. Here it is. You know, you take out all the spacing, it's barely a half a page. This tells you a lot about it. There is no bullshittyism in this. None. It's just direct facts based on true case law. Now, they did try to go for 3 charges. We don't know yet what the third charge was, but it wasn't allowed, okay? Here is what it is. Now, you need to know if convicted, and there's 2 charges here, each one carries up to a 5-year prison sentence. Although, in actuality, the serving of that can end up being much less. But I want to give you a little bit of attention to where the system's fighting back. You do understand Sarkozy, the former president of France, basically. You know, he just got sentenced to 5 years in prison. Now, look how long that took. He sentenced and gone to prison for 5 years for soliciting campaign funds from Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. That's a president of a country. It just happened. What, yesterday, day before yesterday? A president of a country, first one ever, sent to prison for 5 years. That's a big deal. Now, if you look at all these different things, right? Here are the statutes that the DOJ invoked. Now, you can look this up. It's United States Code 18, Section 1001. Okay? Now, what United States Code 18, 1001 is just a false statement that comes in violation of the code. They charged on the second one, U.S. Code 18, 1505, and it's basically obstruction of a congressional proceeding. Okay? Now, here's how it works so you understand. Each one of them carries 5 years potentially in prison. Now, when I read these to you, I want you to determine, do you think this is baloney? Not what the media tells you, just at facts, which you can go back to September, mark it down. You can go back to September 30, 2020. You can hear it and see it for yourself based of the filter of being five years later, okay? So under count 1, false statement, U.S. Code 18, 1001, it occurred on or about September 30th, 2020 in the District of Columbia. The defendant, James B. Comey Jr., willingly, that's the key, willingly made a materially false, fictitious, and fraudulent statement in a matter within the jurisdiction of the legislative branch of the U.S. government. Namely, during testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee. He testified in substance that he never authorized anyone at the FBI, meaning his own organization, to serve as an anonymous source to the news media in connection with federal investigations. Understand what this is. When you're called before the Judiciary Committee, you are under oath, under penalty of law. In that testimony, you can go back and watch September 30th, 2020, or September 20th, 33rd. September 30th, 2020. You can go back and watch it. Comey was asked, did you authorize someone within the FBI to seed this story to the mainstream media, but be allowed to be protected as an anonymous source? Not only has the source been found, not only has the source been confirmed within the FBI, but even the memos designating the person to do it have all been found. Comey used his own organization to quote unquote tip off the media so the media would run with it. And it was bullshit. But more importantly, under oath to the Senate Judiciary, he claimed he didn't. So you got to really understand what this is. That's pretty damn damning. Okay? The next count is obstruction of a congressional proceeding. Well, he was in a congressional proceeding. Okay? That's U.S. Code 18-1505. So it says on or about the same date, September 30th, 2020, in the District of Columbia, the defendant knowingly and corruptly endeavored to obstruct and impede the due and proper administration of the Senate Judiciary's committing oversight function by providing false testimony, thereby obstructing a congressional proceeding. You see how this works? Not only did he lie about it, and it's been found out, he instructed it and he lied. But since the Judicial Committee was trying to investigate what happened, and they asked him if he did that, one is lie, which he did, caught, but second is he lied to keep them off the trail. Second charge. It's as simple as that. Why? He said it. It went across national TV. They have the person, place, and thing in documents to prove he was lying out his gourd. This is it. This comes into play where you have to have, meaning cause of actions, and where this is in a matter within the jurisdiction of the branch of the government of the United States. And where he did it is, in fact, the proper jurisdiction and venue because he did it right there in the Eastern District of Virginia. Now, here's how it's proved in court. It's really simple. Here's how it's proved in court. James Comey Baloney, did you actually say that you didn't approve an anonymous source? Well, he's on record saying that. Can he recant that? No. It's on record many times. He can't recant it. And so, did you say something that was materially misleading? And since all the documents are found, and they've always been there, that's the key. They have always been there and known. He knowingly lied because he authorized it. It all comes down, was that your intent? He acted willfully. He showed up and acted willfully. That's the bottom line in this whole thing. And the only reason he would do that is to misdirect the investigation into both him and the FBI. Period. It's as simple as that. It's freaking hands down. It all comes down to the framing of, and words are key, false statement and obstruction. Now, here's the deal. We are mere days from the statute of limitation. We don't know what the third charge was. We just do not know. But when it comes to procedural, guess what? It's not based on theory. It's not based on a 6-degree polynomial, abnormal, fractal, pterodactyl. It's based on paper that proves it. You said this in an official proceeding. That's documented paper. It's on TV, documented physical evidence. And here is the email where you instructed everything to be done. No theory, no polls. No, I think he really meant to make this go. None of that. Zero. That's not prosecutable in court. And that's what this is. Now, do any of us know which way this is going to go? I don't. But I can tell you what, when it comes to court and you have to have evidence beyond a shadow of a doubt, what they don't allow was done in Serbia and it was switched on a server and it was this. They go, okay, where's the evidence? Well, they're a confidential source and we can't tell you who they are. That doesn't work. It always comes down to physical, provable evidence. And in this case, the Trump administration basically looked at somebody inside who had this and wasn't acting on it. Now, here's the deal. This one is uniquely different because it's not based on opinion. It's not based on a stretch. It's truly cut and dry. So even a corrupt judge who may, in fact, want to throw it out, it ain't going away. So expect the kabuki theater, but it's not going away. Because every piece of this is documented physical evidence. And that's why the indictment, I mean, look at it. Page 1's a half a page outside the header bullshit. Page 2's one paragraph. That's why this is so concise. That's it. It's really concise. So I tell you, in that standpoint, we might see something. Who knows? The floodgates of turds may come rolling down the hill. I do not know. But in many legal scholars' minds, there is no stretching trying to fit a square in a round hole here. It is basically pretty cut and dry. That's what you want your government to do. That's what you want your prosecutors to do. You don't want prosecutors trying to use some obscure bullshit and make it fit. None of that's going on. In my mind, this will send a shockwave through the minds of the bad guys. Now, what's really interesting is this simple thing about exerting control over others. Now, what did they do? They attempted to, or they made sure that President Trump was down. They got into power. They did this. This might be enough of an initial piercing event to show intra-agency collusion, which is what it is, to change an outcome in order to control people, things, finances, or otherwise. And this leads into the territory of racketeering, which is quite possibly what comes next. Don't know. This is why the archives of the full forensic audit in Arizona are so critical. This is why we have to keep all of it. You now understand how long this stuff takes. And the system tries to break you. Same people who told you the Arizona audit was a fraud, was this, was that, or whatever, right? Same crap. because they needed people to believe in BS, non-provable stuff with no enforcement teeth. It is the same modus operandi that the bad guys used all over to direct you to what's not enforceable, so nothing ever happens. We're tired of it. You got to have documented, prosecutable evidence. See, the system tried to run out the time window, which President Trump didn't let happen. They had to clean house to do it, but they didn't let the time window run out. We, for the full Arizona audit, didn't let the time window run out. That's why we stayed in audit mode. But the system's playing a game. The same game you're watching play out right now. Push it too far, push it out there, and spin the story, just like you saw in the media. Look how many people, Giovanni, it didn't really do it for a full forensic audit. There's not really, it was the machines. It was Serbia and 30 special hacker detectors that are protected by law. It's all bullshit. Physical evidence is the requirement by law. I want to point that out to you. Physical evidence is the requirement by law. If we don't operate in the physical evidence zone, we get nothing except what we've always gotten. And what we have to do is we have to not engage in the same BS game they did. This is why you can have all the talk about the machines, but what the system's really upset about is taking away the mail-in ballots. It's why you can have President Trump, who you can trust, saying, we got to get rid of these damn mail-in ballots. But the RNC is telling you, bank your ballot, putting people out there you like on social media to convince you. I want you to listen to something for a minute, okay? I want you to listen to something for a minute. You ready?
Our courts are based on clear and convincing evidence. Want convictions? Want justice? For what happened in the 2020 election? Then we need your help. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The decision you make in the next few moments could decide whether we ever get our elections fixed or not. Here's why. Trump campaign and allies filed 64 different lawsuits. They all went down in flames. 100% of these cases were presented on "It's the machines," or "The machines changed the votes," or "The voting company executive said he would make sure Donald J. Trump would not win." They all went down in flames. Why? You can't bring theories to court as evidence. No supposed Zoom call or six-degree polynomial math theory or census data is or ever will be proof of fraud. You can't bring theories to court as evidence. Here's why. In both civil and criminal law, the side making a claim carries the burden of proof, and prosecutors must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Without physical or otherwise verifiable evidence, a case cannot meet this high threshold. Physical evidence is the key. The question is, did anyone get relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election? And the answer is yes, absolutely. The full forensic audit of Maricopa County, Arizona is the only evidence-gathering work which gathered relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election. Evidence so damning that the system, the deep state, and those who pull the strings of this country have fought to keep it hidden and have hoped to have it be forgotten to time. Almost $3 million invested in time, funds, and efforts to unlock that which the system wanted hidden. But now, that evidence is in danger of being lost forever. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. With the 2026 midterms coming up, the system is going to try to lame duck President Trump and then most likely introduce new impeachment proceedings. This is the evidence which will help win the war which is surely to come. We need to keep Maricopa County full forensic investigation and archives secure and ongoing. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We need your help securing the full forensic audit archives. Don't allow the only testable, objective, and reliable 2020 election evidence fall into obscurity. Millions were spent on getting it documented and tested. This is historic evidence. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County Full Forensic Audit Archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. Please donate now. Our courts are based on clear and convincing evidence.
The system plays, folks. This is the game the system plays. Right? They try to wait it out. They try to, create BS evidence by bringing in experts, just like the 2020 election. Instead of looking at the paper and going right to prosecution, what'd they do? Experts pop out of nowhere. I saw it on a call, and it's a polynomial record, and here's my letter to certify it. What did they do to Trump? 51 so-called security experts. They'll write a letter. But did they have evidence? No. That is how the game is played. This is hardcore evidence. This is the war we're in to keep that evidence safe. People say they want prosecutions, they want things changed, but they won't go to the extent to do it. Of course, you'll see bots, right? Bots will jump all over it. 3 followers, 10 followers, whatever. It's the con, folks. It's the con. Watch the people who say, well, there was no evidence, of the people that tried to tell you it was a math polynomial or an Antifa phone call infiltrated. It's the con, folks. And the newest con, they're going to tell you, well, it happened over in Serbia and we got it all and they changed votes and it was on the servers. Well, guess what? If you have vote changing on the servers and you see the vote changing, you know what you have? A recording of it all, documented of all, where it come from. Where's that? That's what, or experts said that what's happened. No, it comes down to physical evidence. This is the war we're in. They want to keep you away from it. Don't let that happen. Don't let that happen. I love you all. Remember, they use the same patterns on everything, folks. They use the same patterns on everything. It's the way the war is fought. It is so up to you. It's all over you. Comey even said 51 letters from agents, and you find it's crap. It's a con. That's why they always bring in experts you never heard from anywhere. It's a con. And that's why they fought for years to keep it away from the paper. When you see the paper and you finally get it, you can nail their ass to the wall. That's evidence. Share this program. I love you all, and we need your help.
You'll fight for free and fair elections, invent scan the balance of kinematic artifact detection. You love to read and learn, travel and explore. You're a fearless, brave-heart patriot who's opened doors. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior. You lead by God and always do what's right. In the battle for our nation, you lead the fight. We pray for your safety, the armor of God to protect you from all of us. Here's a thank you for all that you do. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior. Jovan, you're a hero we stand behind. We're inspired by the fire inside your eyes. American proud, we know you'll fight till your dying day. And we'll always stand behind you through everything. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior.